You see where this hammer, the back of it, comes in here? It has a swing and it has an arc to it. That's got to be milled out. Now there's a spring. This is a single spring that controls, I believe, it controls the hammer. That's all it does. That little spring right there puts pressure on that hammer. But it has to be milled out all the way back here. And it's 3/8 of an inch across it. Right here. This is not your grandpa's 30-30. This thing weighs about 15 pounds. So if I'm shaking a little, that's why. So I've got to mill out 3/8. This little lug that spring is captured by, this little lug's got to be milled out. There's this lever catch has got to be milled out right in here. But I'm gonna start with this lug because this is wider than this. This is 3/8 straight up, and it's got to come from here and drop down, and then mill out about 1/8 for that spring, and then sweep it up. And that spring changes positions as this hammer gets worked. See, that spring compresses and goes down, but in its biggest form, it's released right there. The tension's off of it. I'm taking into consideration this thing's going to go forward 1/8 when I mill out for that front. I don't even know what that thing's called. It's an inset, but it's about that deep, and then it comes down here, and it's about that deep. All right, that's my spring mill out. That hammer arc is right there. I have got to go down about that deep. It's hard to measure stuff in the way, but it seems like, even though I'm sitting on an angle, it seems like I'm deep enough. It seems like. Okay. I think there's a little something right there I got to mill out for. The spring on the back of that lever catch has got to be taken out. I'm thinking it's about that deep, but it's a full 1/2 inch width of that. See this little round shaft that this lever latch pin comes through? There's a round latch right there, and this has got to rotate 360 degrees. So I'm going to put a round, I'm going to mill out a round depression. The center of it's right there, best I can tell. I think it's about right there. So that puts the center of it right there. If I just take that 3/8 round bit and drop it in about probably 1/8 of an inch straight down, that ought to work. I'm sorry I don't have a better angle on my mill when it comes to showing how this stuff gets cut out, but maybe you can see this with it straight on. This round mill right here is for that catch for the lever. This little block is milled out to hold the mainspring, and the mainspring curves like that. It's got a curve to it, and I chewed this out far enough back. This little milled out place right here is for the hammer. The top is just flat, and it's going to have a hole, a mounting hole right in there somewhere. And then I've still got to mill down 1/8 of an inch. There'll be a semicircle here that'll go into the back of the receiver for that I don't know what you call that, even where it goes in there. But I'll have to probably just do that by hand, because I don't have a way of chucking this thing up vertically in the mill and having a bit come down and go around it with accurate depth. So I have done that with a table saw. Just put this against the fence and lay it down and have a saw blade just come up and just score it on the bottom, and I can do that. That's a starting point. So that's what I'm doing. Now I've got to just lay this thing in here and see how much more. It's supposed to be 1.8 from here to here, and right now it's bigger than that, and I got to figure out whether I got to take it out of the top or out of the bottom. All right, this is the first test fit to slide this thing in. Side to side is very nice. It's not back there yet. When it further it goes back, the tighter it gets, because this hole is tapered, this slot. The up and down is fairly tight, and right where the top of this tang flares out is where I'm bumping against it going back. It's one thing different about this gun and a 94. See, the 94, there's some play. This part, bottom part here is milled out, and there's some play. You can play with that, and then what holds it together is a screw. As it comes together, it clamps it down. This thing's machined out of one block. Okay, this has got to go in about that wide. And about starting about right there. Now that's a scribed line, so I'm going to leave that thing. That line will be left there. Actually, I have to take out a little less than that. I think I'm going to go ahead and do what I said a minute ago, take 1/8 of an inch off the front of this thing with my table saw. It comes out about that deep. So I can take off about 5/16 of an inch off each side. But okay, that's how much room I have top to bottom at the back of the top tang. Measuring the rifle from top to bottom at the back of the top tang, 1.276. What I have now, 1.4. So I've got about 125 thousandths. It's too thick. It's got to come down 125 thousandths at the back. I measured the front a minute ago, and I've got about 1/10 of an inch more than I need. The question is, do I take it out of the top and let that top tang sit down, or do I take it out of the bottom and let the bottom come up? And even though it's more trouble to take it out of the bottom, because I got to lower every one of these surfaces. Every one of these surfaces got to be lowered if I do that. This one for the retainer, for the lug, for the spring, not just this surface here, but all these others have to be milled down about 120, 125 thousandths. I'd rather go with 120 and let it be a little tight. The next thing is I think this surface doesn't get taken down as much. See the difference? This little step right here. This has been milled out more than that. There's a transition right there. So I'm not going to touch this. I'm just going to come from that lug forward. But I'm going to take it out of the bottom. That's hitting something. It's not side to side, and it's not up and down, and it's not on top. Something underneath. Probably this lug. Probably that lug. I think. It's not the spring or the hammer. I can see I've got enough clearance for the hammer. That lug sits right underneath the back of the lever is the lug, and I think it's hitting right here. No. It's not an up and down thing. Something's stopping it. Here's where it gets interesting.